What would you do if your fiancé secretly sabotaged your wedding plans to cater exclusively to his family, disrespecting you and your own family in the process? In today's story, a bride-to-be's response is a masterclass in standing your ground when faced with ultimate betrayal. My fiancé, Mark, who's 31, and I, a 25-year-old woman, were in the final stages of planning our wedding. For the most part, the process was smooth. We agreed on the venue, the music, the guest list, almost everything. But there was one major point of contention that shadowed all our other agreements: the food. You see, my family and I are all vegans. It's a lifestyle we chose for many reasons, a significant one being a history of health issues in our family. Mark and his family are the complete opposite. They are proud, hardcore meat eaters, and I've never had an issue with that. I respect their choices. I just wanted them to respect ours. When it came to creating the wedding menu, all I asked for was the inclusion of 4 or 5 dedicated vegan options. The pushback was immediate and severe. Mark and his mother, Diane, flat out objected. They called it a waste of money and sneered that vegan food isn't real food. The idea of serving plant-based dishes, they argued, would somehow be offensive to their guests. Diane's grand compromise was for my family's options to be limited to the good old salads and appetizers. She also, bizarrely, suggested cupcakes would suffice. I was stunned. No, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Absolutely not. I explained, for what felt like the 10th time, that firstly, my family and I were the ones paying for the catering, and secondly, I wanted my own guests, my family and friends, to feel welcomed and respected, not like second-class citizens fobbed off with a side salad while everyone else enjoyed a full meal. Mark just made a face and said, "Isn't that what vegans eat anyway?" Seeing the argument was going nowhere, I drew a line in the sand. This isn't up for debate, I said. The decision is final. For a few days, there was a tense peace. I thought he had accepted it. I was wrong. I discovered, completely by chance, that Mark had gone behind my back, called the caterer, and cancelled every single vegan option from the menu. A cold fury washed over me. I was seething. I called his phone, but he kept hanging up on me. That was it. I got in my car and drove straight to his office. I walked past the receptionist and into his open-plan workspace, my heart hammering against my ribs. I confronted him right there at his desk. He looked up, and his face went from stunned surprise to panicked shame. His colleague stared. He immediately tried to deflect. "It was my mom's idea," he stammered, before grabbing my arm and hissing, "Go home, Clara. You're making a scene." Mark made the call to the caterer, feeling a sense of smug satisfaction. He was completely unaware that this single, deceitful act would unravel everything he claimed to want. The fight raged all the way home and continued for hours. He tried to defend himself, claiming I had forced his hand by brushing off his thoughts and refusing to accommodate his family. "Accommodate them?" I yelled, my voice raw. "The menu is 90% meat. There are plenty of options for them. Why can't I have 4 or 5 dishes for my family, especially when I'm the one paying for it?" He fell back on his last defense, shouting that it was his wedding too, not just my family's event. When my own family heard about the fight, they told me to let it go, saying they'd figure something out themselves. But I refused. This was no longer about salad. It was about the profound lack of respect. Later, while sitting on our couch in a deafening silence, I started to list his betrayals in my head. A commenter on my story later laid it out perfectly. He had no clue what vegans actually eat, and no interest in learning. He believed having food for my family was offensive to his, while having none for mine was perfectly fine. And he either couldn't stand up to his mom or was using her as his scapegoat. The thought hung in the air: why was I marrying this man? Just as I thought the situation couldn't get worse, my phone buzzed. It was Diane, Mark's mother. After I ignored her calls, she sent me walls of text. Her message was a masterclass in gaslighting. She began by addressing my performance at her son's workplace, calling my behavior everything from immature to unhinged. She claimed she had noticed for a while that my family and I were acting dismissive of Mark's input into the wedding. This text revealed Diane's greatest flaw, one she had passed down to her son: a profound arrogance, a belief that their wants superseded everyone else's rights, which would ultimately seal the fate of this wedding. She then addressed the food menu. denying her involvement in the cancellation but stating that she fully supported her son's decision. In her view, it was a responsible move because of my continual refusal to see that the vegan food was a waste of money. She then attacked me for my financial independence, pointing out how I kept saying I paid for it. She suggested that since we were getting married, my money was now technically his money too, and I needed to get rid of my money mentality. She concluded by saying how bad this was making me look and that they had offered compromises I chose to brush off, making this my weird hill to die on. That was the final straw. My anger solidified into a cold, hard resolve. I typed back a response that left no room for interpretation. I told her that I was standing my ground on this issue, and if it meant calling off the entire wedding, then so be it, because what she and her son were doing was beyond ridiculous. A few minutes later, my phone started ringing again. It was Mark. He was with his mother and had clearly seen my reply. I ignored the call. Now, I'm just waiting for him to get home, to see if he will finally understand the gravity of what he's done, or if he's still insisting on the stance he took. As I waited, a thought that had been quietly forming in my mind was perfectly articulated by a comment I later read online. He canceled the vegan options. You cancel the wedding. It's a terrifyingly simple equation, but it's starting to feel like the only logical answer. This story is a powerful reminder that a marriage isn't just about a wedding day. It's about building a life on a foundation of mutual respect. When someone shows you they don't respect you, your family, or your values, you have to believe them. What would you have done in this situation? And do you think a relationship can recover from such a deep breach of trust?